With all this talk about document outlines and properly structuring content, there's one final thing I need to discuss that can affect your document's final outline. There's a group of elements that are known as sectioning roots, and their internal structure is considered independent of the regular document outline. To demonstrate that, I'm going to use the roots.htm file found in the 02_13 directory. Now, as you can tell by looking at this, it's a little bit simpler file than our Trails file. We have a main heading, which is in an H1, and then underneath that we have two subheadings, which are both H2s. We have two nested subheadings, which are in H3s, and then finally we have another subheading, which is another H2. Now, if we preview this in our browser and turn on the headings map, you can see an outline exactly the way we expect it to look. We have our main heading up top, which is an H1. We have two subheadings underneath that. Subheading number 2 has inside of it two nested subheadings. And then finally, we come back to our subheading 3. All right, if I go back into my HTML and highlight those two nested subheadings, I'm going to go ahead and wrap those in a block quote element. So block quote is one of the elements that's considered to be a sectioning root. The other elements for that are body, which makes sense if you think about it, since it is sort of the parent sectioning root of all the elements. Block quote, as we're using here, field set, figure, and TD are table cells. Those are all sectioning roots. What that means is their internal structure is totally ignored when it comes to generating a document outline. So if I save this, so I'm going to go back to my browser, I'm going to refresh the page, and then let's turn headings map back on. And now you can see in our main document outline that the two nested subheadings are no longer visible. Now, it doesn't really matter what type of internal structure the block quote has. If I go back into my code, for example, I could change the first nested subheading to an H1 and have the second one be an H2. If I save that, go back into my browser and refresh, notice that it makes no difference at all in the document outline. This isn't necessarily a good idea. Although most devices are instructed to sort of ignore that internal structure, not all of them do, and Google is certainly going to index it. So again, having multiple heading 1s on a page isn't necessarily the best idea. So I think what I'm going to do is change the first one to an H2, being the main heading inside the block quote, and maybe my nested subheading 2 becomes an H3. So if I save that, go back and preview that in the browser again, you can see it still makes no difference to the main document outline, but I can still get that internal structure inside the block quote that I need. Now, you probably won't encounter too many instances of sectioning roots causing problems or messing up your document outline, but it's really nice to understand how they work so that you're prepared for their effect on your overall document structure.